Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to episode 2 of Slaying Ogryns Unchained. This is a series that's dedicated to the building, planning, as well as construction of our studio's slave Ogryn gang for an upcoming campaign of Necromunda. And today's video, we're on episode number 2, and we're actually going to talk about how the gang is actually built. So in the previous video, we actually talked about exactly how we go about planning for a gang, what kind of campaigns can we be setting in, what kind of tactics we use for this gang. We made a wish list of things that we wanted this gang to be able to do. We made our gang list, and we also have like a list of things that we're going to use to upgrade our gang over the course of the campaign. Now today's video, now that we have our gang planned out, we got to assemble our gang. Now originally, Games Workshop had this box set. If you've seen the background image, it was the original Slave Ogryn gang box set. You got 6 Ogryns in that kit, and you can put them together using their official miniatures. Unfortunately, Games Workshop, I don't believe, makes this anymore. They just have the normal like Slave Ogryn brute that you can actually hire, so it's a box of 2. They kind of limited the options that you had available to you now, so unfortunately that is no longer available to you. So because you have to get a little bit more creative about how you're going to have to go about creating your gangs. So in order to create our gangs, what I decided to do is do some kit bashing. I was able to get my hands on some Slave Ogryn box set, which is the 2 that usually comes in that box set. Same thing with some Ogryns, which is the 40k version. You get 3 of those guys in a box set. And of course, I also bought a box of Wargames Atlantic Classic Fantasy Landnext Ogre, which you actually get 9 of those in a box, which is absolutely fantastic. And the cool thing about the Wargames Atlantic Landnext Ogryns, they also come with not just halberds and swords and clubs and stuff, but they also come equipped with grenades. They also have berets for heads. They have like these giant shotgun looking weapons, all kinds of really cool stuff. So the plan here is, since I can't get the original box set to create my Slave Ogryn gang, I'm going to kit bash my own using the Wargames Atlantic pieces, the Necromunda Slave Ogryn pieces, as well as the Warhammer 40k pieces. And in fact, when I was looking for information about these box sets, specifically the Landnext Ogres, I really couldn't find a lot of good information about how compatible these kits are. So I decided to do the footwork for you and show exactly what that looks like. So the next next part here, I'm going to show you a video clip that I made comparing those pieces and how they all fit together. Alright you guys, so here basically is the layout of the different miniature kits that we have here. So on the left hand side we have Wargames Atlantic Landnext Ogres. Right in the center we have Necromunda's Slave Ogryns. Over here on the right hand side we have Warhammer 40,000 Ogryns as well. And we're pretty much trying to see if these kits are pretty much compatible to each other, are they on scale, that kind of thing. Because unfortunately I just couldn't really find much information about this on the internet, whether it was good or not. As you can see with the Wargames Atlantic kit, it's pretty simple. It just has the legs and torsos already kind of pretty much assembled. You just got to attach the arms and the heads to it, as well as the front of the torsos. But when it comes to the mount points on the arms, let's go ahead and see if we can zoom in here real quick. So look at the mount points on the arms, for the most part, they are flat, okay? Whereas the other ones, for example, like 40k, I'm just going to pull this up real quick. With the 40k arms, however, we're going to flip it over. They got like this little kind of like recessed area right there that you got to kind of glue into to kind of go into the shoulder joint is where it is. And that could be a little bit of an issue because that's for both the 40k one as well as for the Necromunda one. So that one could be more of an issue, just a little bit, just because, you know, you might have to add some green stuff if you wanted to mount the 40k stuff directly onto the Wargames Atlantic stuff. And vice versa. If you wanted to take the Wargames Atlantic materials and actually put it directly onto the shoulder joints of the torso for both the Necromunda as well as for the 40k stuff, what you'll have to do is add some green stuff to kind of like level it out a little bit, so that way it has something flush to stay onto as well. Now, as for the heads of the miniatures, as you can see, this is the Wargames Atlantic heads. It just kind of fits right directly into the top of the torso. Now, when it comes to the 40k materials for Necromunda, pretty much the same kind of like thing a little bit. Hold on, I'm going to flip it around back. Now, for that one, it's a little bit more difficult because you see these little sockets here in the back of the neck that you'll need to glue directly into the front of the torso. So, for example, here, if you look here, there's like this little notch that it goes into. So that part is a bit of a pain. So the heads may not be interchangeable. For the 40k stuff, let's see if I can find the front of the torso real quick for the 40k. Here we go. For the front of the 40k, it's pretty much the same thing as well. They got a little notch there that you put the head to. So that part is going to be a little bit more of a pain to do if you wanted to take 40k heads and attach them directly to the Wargames Atlantic ones. Now the Wargames Atlantic ones, you might be able to do the reverse to it. You just got to kind of carve out a little bit of a hole in the base there, and you'll pretty much be okay in that situation there. So that's where the compatibility issues kind of come up with between these. So just a quick short little video about the compatibility of all 3 kits, the 40k Ogryns, the Slave Ogryns, we know that these two are pretty much compatible with the Wargames Atlantic ones. Now, in my opinion, I think the best way to do this, if you really want to do it, because Wargames Atlantic does come with guns, it also comes with medieval weapons as well. I think the best way to kind of do it for the most part is to use the arms, oh sorry, not the arms, the torsos and the legs and the heads of the Wargames Atlantic stuff, and then combine whatever 40k material you want in order to attach those. So because the big thing is that you're going to have plenty of bits and bobs from the 40k as well as the Necromunda. What you're not going to have a lot of is torsos, however. And I think that's where the Wargame Atlantic kind of shines, because you get like 9 of them, I think, in a single box, whereas you only get 2 for the Necromunda, and you only get 3 for the Warhammer 40,000. So I think that'd be the best way to kind of do it for the most bang for your buck. Just get a box of these and then a box of whatever you want to do your futuristic, and then you can combine them together to make what you like. Or you could just go straight up, just use these guys futuristics. They have guns and stuff and mag pouches and things. That could really work out as well. So if you guys are wondering if that's a good kit, in my opinion, it's a good material to use. I'm going to use these guys as the basis for a Slave Ogren game that I'm going to be kitbashing together here pretty soon. So I'm really satisfied with how that's going to work out, and I think it's going to look really good by the time it gets done. Alright, you guys, that's Commander Cheapskate on this one. Peace out. Stay classy. Alright, so this is the end result of my kit bashing using those 3 kits. As you can see, I use all 3 40k Ogryns as well as both Necromunda Ogryns as well, and then I use 3 Wargames Atlantic Ogryns in order to fit out my gang. And the best part about it is I use some really cool pieces and bits and pieces from all of them to put together. I also use some orc bits from Orc Boys from Warhammer 40k. I had a couple of those bits laying around too, and I use that to help out, as well as some Warhammer Fantasy Ogres, Ogre Kingdom pieces as well in order to kind of fill out the rest of the collection. The nice part about this is that if I want to add more fighters to this gang, I have 6 more bodies that I could use from Wargames Atlantic. I'll probably use those, like the bodies and the heads for those, and then of course just replace the limbs with whatever extra bits that I have from the Slave Ogryn box set, as well as from the 40k box set, as well as from any Orc Boys that I actually have as well. So this is the wide range that we have. We have all 8 fighters all created, and we also have all the individual fighters also created from the roster they had earlier. And in the previous episode, we talked about the roster, what those guys will be carrying. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to show you individual videos of each of the fighters. I'm going to have them kind of rotating around on a display. I'm going to talk about exactly what parts and pieces went into creating those fighters. So first of all, we're going to start with our Ogryn overboss, which is Vox the Rebel. Alright, so up first is Vox the Rebel. This is the leader of the gang. I use a 40k Ogryn arms as well as a head as well. On the back there, that little back is actually the Goliath Stimmer grenade assault pack that I put in the back of the miniature just to get a little bit more weight and some depth as well. I also kept that little Kamazar looking robotic head that's on his shoulder to make it look like that thing is actually telling Vox the Rebel what he needs to do in order to be a successful rebel leader. At the same time, the hand that he has there, that's actually a huge choppa, which is like a chain axe looking weapon that I got from the Orc Commandos kill team box set, and I use that to give him his little chopper as well. You can see I secured that backpack using some green stuff. And then also use some Orc Boys, Biker Boys fuel cans, as well as some fuel cans and grenades from the 40k box set, as well as the Wargames Atlantic box set, to give him some explosives down the back of his belt, so that way he can use that to lob at his enemies. Up next is one of my champions named Red Glare. This is the fighter who's actually supposed to be throwing around grenades, and for his body, I decided to use Wargames Atlantic's Landnex Ogre for most of his body as well. So his arms, for example, his head, his legs, that comes from Wargames Atlantic. At the same time, I also use a lot of bits and pieces from 40k, especially the fuel cans from the Biker Boys from the Orc set. I had 3 of those fuel cans glued to his body, make it look like he's lobbing around incendiary charges. The giant maul looking thing is a stick grenade hand from a Biker Boy as well that I cut and I glued to that Landneck owner arm. And then the right-handed arm that's holding the grenade, that's actually from the Landnex Ogre kit for Wargames Atlantic, as well as that cluster of frag grenades on his hip. Now the visor that I used from his helmet is actually the welding mask visor from the Slave Ogryns box set. Now for Liberty Vorg, one of my other champions, I used a Ogryn from 40k, the Bull Ogryn body, except just the one with the tank top is all I decided to do, as well as the grenade launcher looking thing from one of the Bullgryns as well. We're going to pretend that's his last cutter, and as well as the hand that he used, we're going to use a power claw from an Orc Boy to make it look like it's part of his augmetic fist, because I had that from the Biker Boys as well. As you can see, I also used the fuel can looking weapons as well as the frag grenades from the 40k box set, as well as the shoulder pauldron as well. And for his head, I actually used a leftover Bullgryns, I believe, with Ogre Bulls, I believe is what it's called, from Warhammer Fantasy, from the Warhammer Kingdoms, Ogre Kingdoms. I used that head to kind of create that head because it had like these skulls hanging from his beard. It looked like a pirate. I thought it was like a really cool looking look for this particular fighter, and that's where I basically kit bashed him from, was from those different kits. My last champion was Smash Fist, which was a slave Ogryn who had paired augmatic fists, and this is just straight up the slave Ogryn kit from Necromunda as well. Just kind of put them together, made him look like a Lobo with the Lobo head, the power pack, the augmatic claws. This is the actual miniature from the Necromunda Slave Ogryn box set, and I thought it looked really cool, a really great miniature. I kept a lot of the bits and pieces I'm going to use for future upgrades for other fighters I could add to the list. Up next is Torgo the Lockbreaker. Once again, I just created this guy from the Slave Ogryn box set. This is the character that carries a Stormloader as well as a Spudjacker, so I just kind of assembled the miniature according to the details from the box and the instructions. The only kit bashing I really did is I took this gas mask looking head from the 40k Ogryns box set and I put on this guy's head instead. I secured with some green stuff just because there's a little bit of a fitting issue with the 40k materials and the Necromunda materials. So moving on to my Lobo slaves, up first is Clubber Lang. This character is supposed to be armed with paired Spudjackers. For this guy, I used a 40k Ogryn body, especially the one with the head that's all messed up looking. It's got like a 7-egg eye and everything. I used that with it, and also its body armor with the tank treads for its body armor as well. And then what I decided to do, of course, is take some pouches and some grenades from the 40k kit and put that along his hips as well. Now, the arms, the hands specifically, are actually from Warhammer Fantasy. The club on its right-hand side, as well as the Iron Fist, that's from Warhammer Fantasy. That's from the Bull Ogres box sets. I just cut off the hands for those and just kind of glued those onto his hands to make it look like it's part of his weaponry. And then they had a spare club that was from that bit that I just kind of put in the back of him with some green stuff, make it look like he's got like a weapon hanging on his back that he can also grab and smash people in the face with as well. My second Lobo slave is Igor. This character is also just pure Wargames Atlantic for the most part. As you can see, it's one of the Landnex kit. I actually did some chopping and a little bit of some conversion work with him. On his back leg, I actually chopped off this back leg and added the exhaust pipes from a Biker Boys kit from Biker's Boy kit that I have to make it look like a little bit more cybernetic. And same thing with his left hand. That hammer that he's carrying, his maul, is actually from a Bull Ogres kit from Warhammer Fantasy, so I did add that to his left hand side as well. But his hood, the arms, the sword looking thing on his shoulder, which I'm going to call Brute Cleaver for this kit, that actually came from Wargames Atlantic, which is a really awesome looking set. I really like the way that they actually kit out stuff. So that's how I went about creating this Lobo slave. And the very last Lobo slip was Hammer Time. This character is primarily a Wargames Atlantic miniature as well, with the arms as well as the legs. I also used some Orc Biker Boys kits, specifically exhaust pipes for his massive two-handed hammer. I thought it looked kind of cool as well. I also replaced his head with the, I believe it's like a figurehead for the Biker Boys from the Orcs as well, that kind of goes right in front of the handlebars. I decided to pare that down and secure that and glue that, and then also seal the back with some super glue as well as some baking soda to kind of create an iron-hard sealing there. Same thing with the exhaust weapon that he's carrying in his hand. Basically, I just used the Landnex Ogre's hands for a greatsword, chopped off the greatsword bit, and added that piece of exhaust pipe to make it look like he's swinging a piece of industrial kit for a two-handed hammer as well. And also, if you look at his leg there as well, I also amputated the leg there on the his left-hand leg, took that off at the kneecap, and I put a piece of exhaust pipe from a Biker Boys kit to make it look a little more cybernetic as well. Unfortunately, it came out a little more derpy than I was hoping they would actually look, but you know, it's your kit bashing stuff and nothing ever goes according to plan, so you just kind of learn to roll with the punches. And even though his absolutely hideous looking miniature, I appreciate his interviewee because he's my baby boy. So there you guys go. This concludes episode number 2 of Slave Ogryns Unchained. This is the video series that's dedicated to the building and construction of our Slave Ogryn gang for our campaigns of Necromunda. We're done with the planning phase by discussing exactly what's going to be made up of the gang and its roster. We have now completely assembled the miniatures using some spare bits and bobs from 40k as well as Necromunda as well as Wargames Atlantic. And now the very last step, of course, is for me to paint these guys up and then show you the overall finished project. So that's good for this video, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. You guys' input is valuable to us as always. I am Commander Cheapskate. I will catch you guys next video. Peace out and stay classy.